Town. The most famous goal of Chris Billy's life.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
And Steve Simonson's boots now. He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears. Huddersfield Town are promoted.
Stefan Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!
Hey up guys, good evening. So sorry we're late, but we're finally here. Welcome to the Huddersfield Town Social, part of the Andy Takes That Chance network. The weather was crisp, the Carling was flowing, and the football was about as enjoyable as a yearly prostate exam. Yes, it was Town's yearly appointment to be bent over by Burton Albion, a side that Town haven't recorded a win over since 2016. The optimism lasted as long as my New Year's resolutions to join a gym and be less of a twat, as Burton scored after just 4 minutes. A goal from Alfie May couldn't keep the spirits up for too long as Town's defence went AWOL in the second half. The performance in the 3-1 defeat was so abysmal, it was met with a chorus of "you're getting sacked in the morning" from all ends of the ground. Well, they should have been saying "you're getting sacked in the evening," as merely hours later, poor Lee Grant was given his marching orders. Now, with 7 managers in 2 years for Town, you'd be forgiven for not having 100% faith in the powers that be to get this one right. But big Chris Markham isn't messing around, and today Liam Manning was confirmed as a new Town boss, along with 2 new members of backroom staff. Is Liam the man to ignite our charge for promotion? Well, rival fans say apparently he likes playing it out from the back. High pressing refers to the team as a group. There should be something different. At least he's got a nice easy game on Saturday to ease him into the job. I'll be our host, Nick Barlow, and joining me tonight are Gaz K and Andy K from their 5-star hotel rooms, no doubt, looking for some Wi-Fi to download tonight's adult entertainments. No. And the only one that talks any balanced sense around here, it's Tristan Matley. Kyle, how are you doing, guys?
Yeah, all right, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Better than Saturday.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, good evening to all of you. We've got some great comments already. It's nice to see you all. As sorry we're late, but we're going to go into it now. Tell us what you think of the Lee Grant sacking. Liam Manning, are you happy with the appointment? Do you think it was the right time for Grant to go? Let's get all your comments in. But first, guys, very quickly, we know obviously people aren't too fussed now, but let's very quickly go over Burton. The 3 of you went, it was shite, but they don't want to hear it from me because I didn't go. Gaz, how did you... What was your experience like in that away, mate? Was it as awful as it sounded, first of all?
Yeah, it was. We missed... I mean, the worst thing is, I'm going to get my Bojan train, but, you know, we actually created a chance in the first minute, and Bojan probably should have done... Well, no problem about it. He should have scored. And then true to form, they went up the other end. We gave away a cheap free kick. The ref seemed to give him more stuff all day, by the way. He thought we were quite amusing all the day. I don't think we were laughing, but he certainly was. And then our pathetic zonal marking, weird man-to-man thing that they were doing, paid dividends yet again, leaving Murray Wallace 2-on-1 in the centre of the goal for their bloke to flick it in. And although we rallied and we played some okay stuff and actually scored a really nice goal. The goal for the equaliser was a really nice goal. It was same old second half. We just crumbled. And after the second goal went in, we were toast. The players looked toast. And with the exception of Balker, not one of them showed anything really after the second goal, and the third was inevitable. And to be honest, they missed an absolute sitter just before the third. It could have been 4. And it was getting pretty toxic in the way end. And I think most people stayed just so they could vent their feelings at full time. Nick, it were it were pretty poisonous, really.
It sounded horrendous. I mean, obviously I couldn't go, but I tried to listen. And do you know what? I just thought into that second half, I thought I'm switching this bugger off because, I mean, I just felt for everyone down there. We've seen it so many times, haven't we? It's not new, this. We've seen it so often this season where you go to these sides and they just don't. You think you get back to 1-1 with Alfie May, and actually looking at it, it's a really good goal down that right hand side. Nice bit of play from the Gaz's friend Bojan to link up with Gooch, and May. Nice bit of control and finishing. You're thinking from then on, come on, you're back in game, right? Let's take control and let's get. But second half, the goals that we're conceding are just unforgivable. That second goal for Burton, Andy. How much space does that bloke? Where's the midfield?
Yeah. I don't know. We didn't go and engage him. I think whether it was my lad Joe Lowe, I think it was more Murray Wallace that just stood there in his like ninja stance and expect that to put him off, and it didn't work. But I tell you what. He absolutely thunderbasted that. There was not, sometimes you can see a ball spinning. That was going right towards my head where I was stood just above Gaz so I could see, because if I get down at the same level as Gaz on terrace, I couldn't see. So I was stood above him. I could have nodded that away, but it got stopped by the top corner at net. I tell you what, he's twatted that. Fair play to him. I don't think Nichols is at fault there. You don't save those, as they say. But yeah, it's just space with a third goal. We just break apart, don't we? And don't make his tackles harnessed as just phones in a tackle. And as you said, I didn't think it was as poisonous as it was last year. I think the thing for me was that most people had got, we're shit again. We just expected it almost, and just the Ledson coming out in the interview and being a bit grumpy about it. Well, at least he showed a bit of passion and interest in it for once. But I suspect that he knew that that was Granty's last hurrah. He was going to go on the back of that. But it just the missed a number of times that Humphreys passed the ball in field and it got into. I counted 3, and I'm no statistician, but I did it 3 times. And I think one of the times they broke away and scored from it. So it's just tepid football, and we just need to get better at the basics, which I'm hoping what our new guy will be able to do with the new coaching staff. But it was another great trip to Burton. Thanks ever so much.
So many fond memories, eh?
Yeah, it's a lovely place.
I mean, I don't mind. It's all right, Ledson coming out though, Andy, and saying, "Oh, it's not good enough." But we're not seeing that on the pitch, are we? We're not seeing it in his performances. Where's he stepping up, having a go at people, rallying around, getting stuck in the tackle? Where was he? It's all right coming out and saying these things, but actions speak louder than words, and he ain't been good enough. He's supposed to be a championship player.
There weren't any of them doing it. Ledson weren't doing it. The experienced lads. Gooch looked devastated at the end, to be fair to him. And he broke the 18-yard barrier to come and get a bit. He wasn't getting much jip. The rest of them hovered on the 18-yard area at the end of the game like they do. But he looked devastated. But, you're like, actions speak louder than words. And I don't know whether we just get tight and we just, because we're scared, because we're 2-1 down, they know they're going to get some shit for it. They just, they just stiffen up and they can't control the ball. They couldn't pass it to each other. The number of times we broke down, the only really good flowing passing move that we did really, I thought was the goal. And we had those 2 chances at the beginning of each half that Bojan pops them away. Alongside that header, we've had a debate on our internal WhatsApp channel about whether about the quality of that. I don't know whether Shep's on or not. That's a belting header I'm in your camp there, Tris. It's a belting header, is that? But he's had 3 chances and hasn't scored any of them, and they could have scored at least 4, if not more. So fair play to match the players off the park, and just a bit scared for me.
I think it's a good point that I know. I think you have to. I doubt there's anybody from Burton listening, but I thought they were great on the day. That's two times we've been to their stadium, and they've absolutely their work rate and their work ethic was immense. They never stopped chasing. They knew what our weakness was, and they absolutely played to it. And we couldn't cope with the press, couldn't cope with the directness. The big number 9 lad absolutely battered. Well, he battered 3 centre halves so much we had to take one off. And just leave 2, so he only had 2 to pick on. But I thought they were really good value for their win, Burton, and I thought Gary Bow yet again did grant from a tactical and coaching point of view.
It was definitely a group versus a team, wasn't it? And that's the issue, maybe, that we have a group of players. We do not 100%. The Shep's gone shocking header. It's in comments. We're not agreeing, Shep. That's the difference. They've got a sense of team spirit, got a sense of almost camaraderie. It just worries me when you don't see much mixing between the younger lads and the older lads in the team. And like when they were warming up, it was interesting to watch them warm up at halftime and us warm up at halftime. And I said this to the lads that were around me. They were practicing doing what they were potentially going to come on and do. So centre halves were passing the ball to each other and in it away. There was some trying to do some moves for the forwards, trying to get loose. We're just pissing about doing that bloody rondo thing that we do every single time and wandering around aimlessly. So they get a sense of purpose that they were going to come on and they were getting ready to come on and make a difference, and they bloody did. Whereas our lads that came on, absolutely little to no contribution. So yeah. I was a Grantling. I'd got a lot of time for him. Obviously, a lovely bloke, but right decision, because there's something rotten in the state of Denmark, to quote some Shakespeare for you, gentlemen. And we need to get that sorted out now. Whether Liam Manning's the guy to do that, I've got absolutely no idea. But all he will get is my full support until the time is not to support him. But yeah, just so upsetting, really.
Nice to have a bit of culture on here, Andy, for a change. Thanks for that. It's
I thought he'd gone all Trump talking about Denmark's political situation.
Getting Greenland involved in it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of chat already on the manager front. B. Peel thinks he's not a fan of Manning. Shit appointment. I mean, let's give him a chance, man, before we dismiss him. He's only been at door a day, but. Yeah, there's a lot of debate about it, and obviously we'll get on to Manning. But Tris, for me, the writing were on the wall for Grant after that Wigan game. It were toxic in there. Some of the substitutions, the fan reaction. And I thought at the time, there's no coming back from this. Now, he had some favourable fixtures over Christmas time, didn't he, which maybe prolonged it. But I'm wondering if maybe they'd started the old conversations after that Wigan game, because you don't just appoint someone a couple of days after the event, do you? So I suspect that these conversations have been ongoing for a while. Do you think it's a right decision, Chris, to let him go? I did a couple of polls on X about it, which I'll talk about in a minute. But how do you see it with Lee Grant, mate? Where's it gone wrong for him?
So I'll just touch on the Burton game a little bit. I think the Burton game epitomised why we got rid of him. We powder puff defence. We've got this strange kind of, as Gaz alluded to, zonal kind of hybrid marking on set pieces. The passing was the passing was sideways and backwards as the chant started, and it didn't go anywhere from there, and it just seemed throughout the game, quite as Andy said, we seem to stiffen up. We're not brave in anything we do, and as Gaz alluded to, the only person really that was brave at all was Bolker, and he continued and continued and continued to play passes through the lines, and and I think, truthfully and honestly with you, that it epitomised Grant's tenure with us, that in one game, and we got outplayed by a team. We've experienced that from kind of all kinds of fronts, from Steve Bruce, who's not in a job anymore at Blackpool, or the various people that have outcoached Grant. And it just feels like enough's enough almost. We can't keep going down that route when we've got a team with the quality that we've got. Now, I think probably the thing that surprised us the most on Saturday was, before the start of the game, we're looking at the team. McGuane's had a brilliant 45 minutes midweek. You'd either expect him to be starting with a view that they can pull him off if they need to, or at least have him on bench, and he's nowhere to be seen. And again, it goes back to that almost Grant kind of lottery ball, picking his teams, not knowing his best team, trying to please everyone. It just feels it felt on Saturday like it just epitomised all of what we've experienced. Now, I completely agree, and I was going to say, I don't think that they've been resting on the laurels. I don't agree with quite a number of these comments that Town haven't taken the time to find the man. I absolutely think they have taken the time, and I think the writing was on the wall, quite as you say, Nick, probably since I think it was the 13th of December or something like that. So I absolutely think Markham's been out there looking at what's about, and quite interestingly, I think it was roughly around that time that Manning got sacked at Norwich. I don't think it was much before that he was sacked at Norwich. So, quite interestingly, I don't think, and I'm sure we'll go into this, I don't think he would have been available to us before that spell at Norwich. So I think we've probably acted on that a little bit. I think he probably is still fancied by a number of clubs. I think probably it's quite smart from him. He's had some success with MK Dons. He's had some success with Oxford, and I say success. I appreciate that he didn't get them promoted, but he put them in decent positions and had them in decent positions. And I think his stock was quite high. I think he's probably come to another League One club where he's had some success. He's got a decent budget, and he's trying to kind of get himself, back in that kind of higher echelons of the Championship sort of frame of mind. So time will tell, won't it? We go through these managers. We hope Moore would be good. We hope Duff would be good. We hope, Brighton Viter would be good. We hope Grant would be good. So, time will tell. I don't think anyone can say right now whether they think he'll be good or bad. I guess that's where we're at, aren't we?
The worry for me is I don't think he's got time. He's only got 19 games to get the stated aim of our chairman to get us promoted. Be that by the playoffs, it might be 22 games, mightn't it, if it's by the playoffs. But he's got it in the ground running. I don't think so. Completely agree. I don't think it is.
No team in the last, I think it's 15 years, has been promoted having lost 11 or more games. We've currently lost 10 games.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's got to be a phenomenal run.
Yeah, and looking at his games, or looking at his previous tenures, it doesn't look like he's a manager bounce type either.
No,
and we'll go in a bit more detail on Liam Manning in a bit. I just wanted to sort of finish on Grant. Really, guys, I've got some stats here. Played 27, won 11, lost 10, drawn 6. I mean, that's bang average. We XG wise, we're second highest in the league. Obviously, we scored the most goals, but we're also 6th in the league for conceded XG, and it's defensively we've been absolutely shocking. As passing, to me, to say that we want to be this passing, free-flowing side, we play so many long balls. As long ball accuracy is, I think, 22nd in the league for accuracy on long balls. So we're not even doing it well. Do you know what I mean? It's so many misplaced passes and lack of quality in the final third when it counts. So many mistakes at the back. We started so well against Leyton Orient in the sun, 3-0. We're thinking, maybe we've got something here. And then we go to Reading and win 2-0. Really gutsy performance. Players going over to the crowd. Yeah, like Alfie, mate. And I think you said at the time, Andy, it felt like we'd turned a real corner there in terms of team spirit, togetherness, and we were building something. And then it just, we had the Blackpool game and the Barnsley game where we lost, but there were little caveats to that in, Blackpool, they went down to 10 minutes, should have everyone behind ball. We had a mad 10 minutes. Barnsley, Goodman, Howlers, and then get sent off. But then since that Bradford game where we got absolutely pasted in a no-show, which was embarrassing, by the way, in a derby, we've just gone to pieces since, and we've completely lost any kind of identity or direction to me. And Lee Grant just wasn't learning. There was no evidence to suggest that anything was going to get any better. And I did a poll on X. I did one at the time when Duff was sacked, and when I did the one for Duff, 39% were in agreement that he should have been sacked. Only 39%. So a lot of people thought maybe we should have given him more time, despite the fact that the football wasn't great and we weren't where we wanted to be. People were prepared to give him time. Lee Grant, I did the poll after the Wigan game, and there was about 400 responses, which doesn't sound a lot, but actually statistically, it's still quite significant. 88% wanted him gone after the Wigan game, and 96% were in agreement today that it was the right decision. So you compare them two scenarios, it's just united the fan base really has been for a long time in terms of the decision to get rid of Lee Grant. So I think you've got to say, surely, that although I really like Lee Grant on a personal level, I think he's a really nice guy, but unfortunately nice guys don't necessarily win you football matches. And from a football point of view, we can't mess about here financially. We're throwing money in. It's only going to get us so far with the financial fair play rules. At some point, we're going to have to get promoted. It's shit or bust in that sense. That we could end up doing a Bolton if we're not careful and been here for 10 years. So I think it was the only decision, really, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, I think the club had no choice. I think he completely lost the fans 3 or 4 games ago. I think you said 86% said he should be gone, Nick. I would guess the 14% who said no were only saying no on the basis that we just can't keep sacking people. That was the only argument you could have for leaving Grant in place was we can't keep sacking people because, as you said, we set off well. What I was concerned about his setup, and I noticed, I think Leon Wobshaw, on Twitter this week said he was missing an old head in his backroom staff, and I think we'd said that on here, haven't we? That you looked at he must be looking around the bench at 3 blokes who have a similar mindset. Once, as happens in League One, once other teams worked out how we played and how to get around us and get about us, from that point on, he struggled. He relied on having better players to win your games, and I still think we'll make the playoffs. And this league is so terrible that I still think we will make the playoffs this year, even with the change of manager. But yeah, I don't know the guy. I thought he came across well. Some of the stuff was, I told you, it got really personal, which I really don't like. Some of that stuff was really bang out of order. And I don't. Somebody said, now what's that chap today? He'll probably go on to be a really, really good coach. I can see why he was successful as part of a team. I would think as part of a team, he's probably a cracking asset. But I think as a leader, it was probably stage 2 soon. And also, he came into an environment which was all or nothing. He wasn't taking on a club where he could have a season, getting his feet under the table, finishing 12th, 14th, and seeing that as a success to build and go forward. There was only one aim. So, he knew what he can't say he didn't know the score when he came in, because he absolutely knew what the expectation was. And you're probably right. He probably dodged it for the last 3 or 4 weeks, hasn't he? He's probably lasted a month longer than he should, which again is a bit of a sign with Kev, is that he sometimes takes just that bit too long to pull the trigger before. If he's going to make the change, he probably should have made the change. But at least Manning's coming in with a little bit of the January window left, and I guess him and Chris Markham will be looking at the squad, what we've got and what we haven't got, and try and take it from there. But yeah, I don't wish the lad any ill. I'm sure Lee Grant gave it his all. I don't, he doesn't come across the sort of guy that didn't give a shit. I think he's just a guy that was out of his depth, sadly for him.
Do you think the way he came across, he didn't help himself either? Because you said, Andy, when you went to Austria, he talked really openly, honestly, approachable. But yeah, in his press conferences, the way he speaks just does not resonate with Town fans. This coaching jargon rubbish. We just want someone straight talking that's willing to admit they've made a mistake or that they're trying to make things better. And it just never resonated, did he? And I always think that counts for that little 10% with Town fans. If things aren't going well, but they see what you're trying to do, and they will give you time. But if they don't, it's exactly the same with Carlos Corberán. Even though we were doing that, there's still some people saying, I'm not keen, because it just didn't relate to it. Do you think partly that's why as well, that a lot of fans just didn't seem to take to him?
I think the benefit that we got in Austria was that he was speaking directly to a group of admittedly middle-aged and later-aged town fans, and he hadn't adopted this, the management way of speaking. I know I was taking the mickey out of a lot of people saying it's just a different way of putting it, and it's just it's just a new way of talking. It's how the young coaches appear to speak. And you're right, that audience in that room, he was very forthright, and he 100% understood what he was coming into, because we talked about the lack of connection with the fans, and we talked about what had happened last season, how toxic it got, and he knew. And I said early doors that I thought he got that. I think that's disappeared, and he disappeared into the devil of his own detail in terms of how he talked, I worry for the way that he didn't appear to be able to adapt his style. So I think, as Killer said in the past, that but footballers are primarily simple animals that need to be fed very specific instructions what they need to do, and adding detail upon detail upon detail and using 15 words when you could use one is not going to land with them. And I think he was trying to maybe cover all his bases with his press conference, and to a point, I stopped watching him, because they become almost unlistenable, really, because some of the stuff that he was coming out with. And I think that's the bit he needs to learn, that he's got to adapt his communication to fit in with the actual audience. He was a straightforward, honest bloke in Austria, and that's what made, I think, everybody in that room with him warm to him. But it became colder and more regimented and more coach speak as the time went on, because he realised it wasn't working, so he retreated more into detail, because that's what had got him success in the past. And it became, so it was just, I think it was just too complicated. And I'm just hopeful that Manning is a more of a simplicity, genius type of guy, and we can get them doing simple stuff well, without the overcomplication of what, from me on the outside, I'm not a football player, but not anymore. Whenever was, to be fair, Gaz will tell you that. Then it was just too complicated, and he relied too much on ironically, his substitutions were his absolute, particularly like Reading away and other games like that. What he'd do is he'd see the game out for 70 minutes, and then he'd bring on 2 or 3 players that would improve the quality of the team against the tiring opposition. Reading was an absolute masterclass in that. We were 0-0 after 70 minutes. We win 2-0 because we just bring quality on. And ironically, it was an absolute shambles the way that he brought subs on Saturday. You could see players stood on the touchline, ready to come on. Ashia was going to come on, and then he wasn't going to come on. And then my doppelganger brought his men on and sorted it out and just did what he needed to do. And it seemed to take him fucking ever to decide who was going to come and what they were going to do. And then the ones that came on were demonstrably worse than the players that had gone off. So, it's that tactic of improving the team when against the tiring opposition wasn't working. The zone marking, like you say, we've been worked out. And because he didn't have experience to go to and go, what do I do in this position? What do I need to do? The zonal marking thing, how many goals did we concede because of that thing? And that goal that in the 4th minute that they scored, what's his face? My doppelganger, I can't remember his name now. Gary Bowyer said that on the radio on the way home, he said that's credit to their analysts. So they'd worked that out. They worked out that if we get the ball just on the edge of the 6-yard area, you will get a free header on it. And it was absolutely simplicity itself, even though it was an out far end of pitch from us. Just cross it onto somebody's head and he flicks it into it. It was absolutely inevitable because of that chuffing zonal marking thing that clubs can see through, because they've got analysts that can do what they need to do. It just become worse after worse after worse, didn't it?
We are dreadful at defending balls into the box, aren't we? Cross into the box. So, and you would think by now that we would be working that out and doing something about it. But as I say, coming back to the point that, and this zonal marking, I agree, Andy. I hate zonal marking because you just keep concede far too. Just go man for man. I don't understand why people do zonal marking, because the teams that do seem to concede a lot more than when they go man for man.
You just go where the player isn't, don't you?
Like someone that knows more than me will probably counter that with some some knowledge, but to me, we don't do it well. And instead of learning and changing it, we just continue with the same way. And yeah, I just think, going back to this point here that Sean's made, I think maybe they were a bit over drilled. The players seemed a bit lost at times. There wasn't, apart from maybe Castledine in that 10-year-old, that no one really could express themselves. It looked rigid and it looked maybe a bit too much control. I think we were too risk averse. I think Grant was too risk averse in his substitutions. And I mean, look at Ashia. The bloke had a decent game there, albeit against Rotherham, who looked absolutely dreadful in that cup game. But the bloke scored a really good goal, worked his socks off, and he doesn't even he gets on the bench and doesn't even get on the pitch when we're supposed to be chasing a game. I don't understand.
The thing about Ashia, Nick, as well, Nick, is that I think he probably in a roundabout way, he helped Alves succeed against Rotherham, because Alves, if you watched how he played, just hovered in the area that Ashia played in, and Ashia occupied the fullback, and every so often he'd drop the ball back into Alves, and Alves then would run across the front of the box and with those shots in, so sometimes it isn't even just about those players playing well. It's about the potential threat and concern that they give to a fullback. The minute that someone runs at someone, defenders hate that. So Ashia running all of a sudden creates a hole in a defense, or a space within a defensive block, that then another player can, as clever as Alves is, can kind of take advantage from. But I think the other part of this is that, we talk about the zonal marking being a downfall, and I don't think it's just that. I think you can take this even further. I think if you look, and sorry, Andy or Gaz mentioned it, if you look at Humphreys as an example on Saturday, he played the ball to their player and they scored the second goal from it. I think pretty much quite often our attacking play led to our downfall defensively, and particularly on Saturday, we were looking at one point, they almost looked like they'd set up as a rectangle on the pitch, and they were probably a good 15 yards away from one another. Well, and as I said to Killer, if all of a sudden you start putting long balls into Bojan and he flicks one on, who's there to pick it up?
Who's there?
We talked, and we were absolutely cock-a-hoop about the way that Lincoln played against us. They either put balls that their striker won and flicked on and they picked it up, or their striker didn't win it, one of our defenders won it, but they picked up the second ball. We had nobody in the vicinity to be able to do that kind of thing. And so then, as Gaz alluded to, that Beasley picked the ball up. Did he pick it up about halfway? Just beyond halfway, Gaz? Ran about 30 yards, crashed it into the top corner. Thanks for coming. And so I think almost the whole kind of essence of our play caused us a lot of issues, and again, the third goal, ultimately, again, it comes from out wide, from us trying to play out and play. We seem reluctant to play down the middle, so we play out wide. We lose the ball out wide. The lad, just kind of dances, not even dances, just trickles past three of our players. It goes. I think Gaz at the time went, look at that bloke stood on his own. They put the ball into the bloke on his own, and they score from it. And it's like there's those guys stood on the sideline. On a Tuesday night, we sit and talk crap on a podcast, but a bloke who's been paying a load of money to be the manager seems completely unaware of what's going on, and I think ultimately, I think his demeanor and his the way that he speaks and the way that he conducts his pre-match interviews, his post-match interviews, if that's how he speaks with the players, you can see why there's not a lot going in, can't you?
Yeah. I don't
there's
know whether it's
charisma.
Go on, mate, sorry.
It's like no, it's just a complete lack of charisma, isn't it?
Yeah.
They say that you've got about 10 or 15 minutes to speak to footballers, rugby players, sports people, to give them information. Quite as OT said, I think we've over drilled, we've given them too much information, so that they go on the pitch and they're doing some of it, and it just comes out in crap, doesn't it?
I tell you what,
there's not a lot there.
I know we did pick up, Nick, at the end, towards the end of the game. They looked absolutely bollocks as well. So this training and this work they're doing, I think far too much has been on a screen and on a spreadsheet, and not enough it's been out on the training pitch, getting some legs. And every new manager comes in always says the players are unfit. They always get that one in, and I'm sure he will as well. But I have to be honest, they looked mentally and physically toast after 60 minutes. That's before they'd scored their second goal, I might add. We already looked tired, and I think that was another criticism of Grant, which actually the Vegan Prince picked up. We were starting to struggle, and Killer saying we need a couple of subs here because we're physically starting to struggle. 2 minutes later, bang, 2-1. So as you said, Chris, if a self-appointed, a brilliant tactical expert like Ian Kilroy can see it from the stands, you would think a manager on a couple of £1 million a year would be able to see it. But anyway, rest in peace, Lee. All the best to your pal. I'm sure he won't be rushing back to Huddersfield either way, will he?
He'll be fine. He'll get another job, and he'll either go back as a assistant coach, or if he fancies himself in management again, he might get a job in League Two and bounce back. I hope he does well, but he just wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right fit for Town. It wasn't the right job for him with the level of expectation and I just find it baffling that we backed him so massively, but yet we didn't back Michael Duff, who had tons more experience. It doesn't make any sense, does it, really?
No, I don't know whether Tristan's going to admit to wearing shorts to Burton. I think you can wear them in any weather.
He was shivering, right? We stood outside the pub having a pint, and Tris was shivering. I'm like, "Are you cold?" He's like, "No."
Proper northerner, Tris. Proper northerner. Yeah. It's all that jumping around, celebrating, isn't it, at the game? I'm sure.
Absolutely, mate.
Yeah.
Just welcome to see Miles Burnham first live, having watched the shows. So I don't know whether being live is enhancing your enjoyment of our wins, Miles. But quality to have you, mate. And I think
you can't fast forward. That's the downside.
That's the thing.
You can't fast forward through Andy's bits.
I
just zap through Andy. I don't listen to him.
Fast forward through my show.
I've never watched it back in my life. Why would I want to listen to this again?
Sorry, Nick. Andy talked over you. What were you saying, mate? Sorry.
I can't remember.
See? I knew.
No, that's brilliant, Miles. That's brilliant, mate. I hope you're enjoying the live one, and keep putting your comments in, mate. It's good. And thanks, CW. Always good to see you, mate. I appreciate that. Sorry, kind. Thank you very much. Let's get on to Liam Manning then. So, went to Belgium. I'm going to focus on England, though, his English record. So, he was with MK Dons. His winning percentage was 48.2 after 83 games, so not bad. And then went to Oxford, similar record after 29 matches. Then got poached, went to Bristol City. His win percentage 34.1, but he actually got them into the playoffs, which was a big achievement because I don't think they expected to get in the playoffs. So did a really good job there. Yeah. And then he went to Norwich, where it all fell apart. There is obviously a caveat there that he was going through some terrible issues personally, so you don't know what kind of mental state he was in at that time. And Norwich isn't exactly an easy gig either. with the players they had there, with the expectation of the fan base and everything. So it's one of them, either sink or swim, really. But he's got experience. Style-wise, though, is it much different to Lee Grant? He looks to play possession-based football, building from the back, passing out, trying to press when others have it to try and win the ball back. I mean, we've heard all this before, haven't we, in the Lee Grant era when he came in. I don't know. There's part of me that feels like I'm quite excited by this because he's a Championship manager essentially, and I don't think he would have been on the radar had it not have been for what happened at Norwich. But there's another part of me again, which listening to some of the other fans, the way he talks, it's kind of similar to Grant, and I'm just a bit worried. Is he going to resonate with the fans like Lee Grant? I guess time will tell, but I mean, we've obviously got to get behind the blow. I mean, what's your first impressions, guys? Are you happy with this one?
Yeah, I think in our current scenario, 74 managers in 3 seasons or whatever we've been through, he's as good an appointment as we could have made in a really short window as we have done. I think it was really important we got somebody else in. And actually, do you know what? We don't really matter, if we're honest. Resonating with us isn't the problem, is it? The issue is Grant wasn't resonating with the players, right? So if he's boring in press conferences and he comes across a bit dull, but the players get him and the players listen, the players get engaged, that's what I'm looking for, really. I know you sort of skirted over his Belgian experience, but that came about because Lommel's owned by Man City Group. So Lommel's actually a City Group club, and he'd been a coach with New York City. So, this guy's been through some, with respect to Grant, he'd been a coach under McKenna at Ipswich. This guy's been there, seen it, done it in terms of academy coaching. The MK Dons, he got the sack. I've been in MK today and spoke to somebody who's an MK fan. And they said to me that the reason the wheels came off at Milton Keynes Dons was they sold all his best players from under him. One of those players was David Kasumu. So when the guy said best players, I did question, are you sure? So that's part of the reason why the wheels came off at MK Dons. But I think we would have struggled to get somebody who's got a track record of delivering decent results and decent performances in our league and the Championship, and we seem to have gone and got one. His backroom staff looks weird. They've appointed some bloke he's never worked with before, who happens to come from Huddersfield. And makes me a bit like, we haven't got another Kevin Russell scenario going on, have we?
He knows the club, Gaz.
Does he? That'll chestnut. And then some guy who's an analyst, but I think is it Chris Hogg? I think is the guy that's been with him to the other 3 clubs, and he doesn't appear to be coming. So I don't, or maybe he's coming and they just haven't sorted it out yet. I don't really know, but yeah, I want to give the guy every chance. I think I'm hoping I know there seems to have been a bit of a mixed reaction on Twitter. I think I screenshot one and put it in the WhatsApp group the other day, didn't I? Some bloke saying I'm going to give him 5 games. That's very generous of you. But he couldn't have a better start, could he? I think if he gets something, I don't even think a win on Saturday is the number one desire for me. The number one desire is that we just put a show. We put on a go. We have a proper go at Bradford. And if they win, if we don't win, we don't win. But what I don't want to do is have another weak, limp effort in that game. And he knows Kasumu, of course. And he knows McGuane, interestingly, because he was with McGuane at Bristol City. So I would think he'll have an idea of how he wants to play. I'm not an expert on these things, but according to the WhatsApp groups I'm in, he's played 5 at the back. He's played 4 at the back. So I don't think Bradford are going to know. Bradford will have no idea what the team's going to be. Bradford will have no idea what the formation's going to be. So that might just play into our hands. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I think I'm happy enough with it, Nick. On the face of it, I think it's a solid appointment.
I think he's played 3-4-2-1. For 3-4-3 formation or a 4-2-3-1, so he can play 3 at the back, 4 at the back. He's not afraid to mix it up and adjust it according to the opposition. Part of me thinks that's good. Another part of me thinks we'll let them worry about us rather than the other way around. However, if you do it properly, which we've not really seen, unfortunately. If you do it properly, then there's no reason why it can't work. So, yeah, it could be interesting to see. Some of the things that's happened, though, in this transfer window, it's even more baffling, I guess, that we've brought Ballymumba in as left wing back. Now, I can only assume that, going back to what we was talking about, potentially started conversations after Wigan games, certainly a couple of weeks in the making, I would think, although we're only speculating. But surely he must have had some kind of inkling of these or some kind of say in these transfers, because it wouldn't make sense to bring in someone like Mumba, let Taylor go on loan if they knew this bloke was due to come in, surely. So that says to me that obviously he's got plans to maybe play with wing backs, and that Joe Taylor, there's obviously some issue there going on, because surely if it'd be, if he thinks actually this bloke's decent, I can get a tune out of him, he would have said, don't, whatever you do, don't let him go out on loan for the rest of the season. A day or two before I come in.
Mumba can play a few positions though, can't he? He's played up front for him, he's played in it.
He can play on the wing, but Plymouth fans
Saturday
said he was awful on the wing.
Awful,
He's best at wing back.
I was singularly unimpressed by him on Saturday. The guy absolutely ripped us another one in Plymouth 3 years ago is long gone by the looks. And you can't say that's because he's rusty, because he's been playing most of the season. So you hope to God that for his sake that he's not up sticks to 279 miles north to suddenly find that the guy that was offering him as a wing back has gone. So, but I think that they've got to adapt, and they've got to realise that getting in our team is going to be difficult. If you're going to wear the badge of Huddersfield Town, you're going to have to work your nads off to get in. So it's a God-given right. So I'll do whatever. And I think he looks like he said he's played a different set of formations based on what you think is appropriate. I just worry that if Bradford don't know what we're going to be turning out with, will that apply the same to us? We haven't got a clue what formation we're playing either. So you'd hope that it's messages into them and that it works out on Saturday. I think soon. So Rob Delahunty's just put into chat. Manning's first for his previous 5 clubs, lost 3, drawn 2, won 0. So he's definitely due. But let's hope it's not just down to luck. Dave had on if that's the result, I'm not going to make any promise of what I would do, but I would be stunned if we reversed the score of the debacle at Valley Parade in September.
The worst thing about Ballymumba for me on Saturday was short sleeves and gloves.
It should be
public flogging for short sleeves and gloves. 100%.
We saw too much of that in the Prem, didn't we? All that bollocks. So his assistants, you touched on it, guys. Martin Drury. So I've got to be honest, I didn't know anything about him till I read up. He's from Huddersfield. He's worked with Bradford Park Avenue and Bradford City before. He's worked in Man United's academy. He's worked as part of Carlos Corbrand's team as well. And he's also been assistant first team coach at Brentford. And that gives me some hope, because Brentford are no mugs when it comes to recruiting people. So that suggests to me that he does have something about him. James Krause, analyst / coach. He's worked at Arsenal, I think 8 years at Arsenal. And he's worked with Manning before at Oxford. And I think having an analyst is important, because I think it showed quite plainly this season that we had next to no idea what was going on in terms of the opposition's weaknesses and how to take advantage. So if we've actually got an analyst, Chris Markham obviously is good at analytics as well. Hopefully that will help us with our strategy going forward, because I don't know. Like we just didn't adapt, did we? We didn't adapt to the opposition. We didn't target any of their weaknesses at all. So that gives me actually a little bit of hope that there's some nous there behind the scenes and support, and we'll see if he brings in anybody else along the way. Is there anything else on Manning then, guys, before we move on to the derby?
I think probably just, I think there's a danger in saying, he's too similar to Grant, and I'm saying this with a caveat of it's being recorded and someone's going to throw it in my face in about 6 months' time.
Yeah, that'd be me,
But-
Tris.
Yeah, but I think there's a danger to saying he's just like Grant, because he likes possession, high possession and high pressing. Ultimately Bielsa likes high possession and high pressing, but you couldn't have got two more polar opposite styles of play from Grant and watching someone like Bielsa's teams play. So I think it is about how he gets that kind of style of play and message across to the players. Like the boring git that I am, I listened to a thing that he did on a football kind of podcast called Coach's Voice, and he talks about, and I know I'm going to bore Andy to tears now. He talks about playing in blocks, and when we're talking about simplifying things, he breaks the pitch down into blocks, and he talks about overloading in these blocks. Now, for all intents and purposes, I could probably teach that to my 7-year-old lad, and teach him in that, in such kind of simplistic ways. Now, it obviously isn't as simple as that, but I would hope that something like that brings a bit more clarity to the players. I think, quite as you said, he has. I don't think he's really wed to a formation. I think, quite as you say, it's about it's about the principles that they're playing and about kind of the skill sets of our players, and you do just wonder whether your Joe Lowe's and your Feeney's, whether time on the pitch might become hard to come by, with that kind of slow kind of movement of the ball. All of a sudden, does someone that's a bit more mobile, a bit more comfortable on the ball, Ruin, Bolker, play at the side of someone in the, okay, it might be Lowe or it might be Feeney, but all of a sudden you don't have those as your kind of wide centre backs. Do you know what I mean? And I think the other part is, quite as you guys have mentioned, apparently he did literally get the best out of McGuane at the clubs that he was at. That was the best time that Bristol City fans have said that they saw of McGuane. Now, on this Coach's Voice, he talks so much about the number 6 dropping in and picking the ball up, and kind of them pushing full backs wide and high and all this kind of stuff, that I think there will be a lot of what we do will rely on McGuane or potentially Harvey Kane if Kane comes back or McGuane's injured or whatever, so I think there is some difference to what they do. I've read that a lot of people suggest that we won't lose at home. He kind of made the clubs that he was at a fortress at home. They said that he wouldn't concede loads of goals, but he also doesn't. His teams don't create loads of chances. So that'll be interesting how that plays out, given that we've conceded a shed load of goals, but also scored goals. So again, it just makes for an interesting dynamic with it all. And I think probably the other important, or two other important bits to mention is, I'd read that I think it was in his last game at Norwich, he did an interview after the game where he openly acknowledged that he left his staff and his players to take the wrath of the Norwich fans, and he was wrong doing that, and he was taking kind of responsibility. He accepted that he got that wrong. That's something that we've heard Killer talk about with Grant, where Grant didn't really ever commit to ever doing anything wrong. Manning did. He held his hands up and he said, I got caught up in the emotion and I did the wrong thing, sorry, basically.
But
so
at least there is emotion.
And that's what I mean. Yeah. And then the other thing is, and I'm hoping I'm going to just add a little bit to what Gaz had said. You know, this bloke that this Martin Drury, apparently, obviously, is he was with Corberan at West Brom, and then he went to Valencia, got snapped up by Brentford, but didn't feel like he could have the impact that he'd been promised at Brentford, so he left after 2 months, and he went back to Valencia, where apparently he was kind of revered by the players. You know, he was seen as really important kind of part of that piece of translating stuff to the players, so much so that they called him the teacher. Now, going back to Gaz's thoughts about spending a lot of time in classroom, I'm not sure whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but hopefully there is someone that is able to just aid that communication of the message. You know, we'll see what time will tell.
Yeah, and I'm just reading these comments here. Mumba not Ruskin replacement. I'm not sure, Lee. You know, I expected Ruskin to go out on loan. You know, with him not getting in the side. I mean, that might change now with a new manager, but I'm not sure whether he's a replacement longer term for Mikael Miller, because I think his contract's going to be coming to an end soon, and with his injury record, I'm not sure he's gonna be offered a new one. But I'm just speculating there. We've had a few questions on the captaincy, guys. Jed, mate, always good to see you. Do you think the captain's going to change, or do you think he'll just keep Ledson as captain till the end of the season? I mean, he's not shown much on the pitch to be captain material for me, Ledson. I've been really disappointed in that sense. But who would, if not Ledson, who would you have as captain, guys? Put your comments in. Gaz, Tris, what you?
Well, I was just going to say, I think as much as we can have an opinion about it, we don't know the internal kind of makeup of the group. I've been Lee granted. So we, you know, if he was to come in and go, right, I'm changing it, you know, we don't know how much influence he has, you know, amongst that squad of players. So I think it's difficult to say, but you know, being as close as we were to the pitch on Saturday, you know, there was very little Alfie May, maybe, you know.
Bolker for me.
Yeah, I won't.
Bolker for me.
100% wouldn't go with Gooch. I think
Gooch.
Yeah, as much as I liked him at Lincoln, I don't think he downs tools one of the first. When stuff goes wrong, Gaz called it on Saturday. He said, look at Gooch. He is absolutely uninterested, completely and utterly. And he was. So you can't have someone like that as captain. Maybe Murray Wallace, you know. I didn't think he was the right man for the job last year, but actually, Nichols talks as much as anybody else and bollocks people just as much as anybody else.
Quite a few comments saying Alfie May. I mean, at least he shows that he cares. I think for me, he drops a bit too. He's a bit all over the place, isn't he? Rather than staying where he should be. But at least he's trying, isn't he? Maybe he thinks he's got to overcompensate for everyone else's failures. That's why he's trying to get involved in everything and jave one up. I don't know, but
that's it. I think I agree with Paul Gibson's comment there about changing captain at this point would be a bit silly. There's a really pressing issue. I think one of the worst things that a manager can do is come in and rip everything up and make it all about me. And I would be amazed if that's what he went and did, because I don't think that would. Paul's putting that until he knows what the dynamic of the dressing room is, whether or not, you know, Ledson is the right guy to lead our club. Then I would be absolutely stunned if he took the armband off him, at least for a couple of weeks. And that it wouldn't surprise me then to come in and start to change everything around, because that's what he thinks that'll just piss Ledson's mates off within the club, and they'll turn on like, well, if you're going to do that to him, what are you going to do to me? So I think that would be absolutely balmy.
Yeah. I think Ledson will have more of a problem, more of a worry about not getting in the team than the captain.
Getting in the team, yeah.
I think he wants to get. Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be a problem, because I'm not sure he's going to be the first name on the team sheet like he was under Grant.
Well, not if McGuane's fit. The problem is,
McGuane and Kasumu. He knows McGuane and Kasumu. So no matter which formation he played, he's played two centre midfielders, hasn't he?
Got Humphreys in there as well. There's only so many spaces, isn't there? So he's going to have to up his game, though, Gaz, isn't he? If he wants to get in that side, roll his sleeves up and get working. Not just talking. Thanks, guys. I mean, we're over 650 watching tonight, which is brilliant. So thank you very much for all your comments so far. The only other point I'll make on Manning is, do you think, when Grant come in, it was all we are aiming for? I don't know if top two was mentioned specifically, but definitely promotion was the aim. That was made very, very clear. And Liam Manning's coming in. I was looking at some of Kev's comments here. Our previously stated aims and desires for the season remain the same, and we will be making a change with those ambitions still firmly in mind. Do you think that the ownership can be accused of maybe putting a bit too much pressure on the management and setting them up to fail rather than leaving it open, particularly in this situation? Because we've got to bear in mind, guys, that there's how many games left? Is it 19 games left till end of the season? It's not long, is it, for a new manager to come in, to get all these players on side, get his ideas across, and we've got Bradford and Luton first 2 games. It don't get much more difficult than that in this league. So is a comments like that really helping? Are we putting too much pressure on this guy? Because inevitably now he's said that, the expectation is going to be there, isn't it? And if we don't win the first 2 games, the pressure's on him from the off, isn't it?
I think it's a real thing for me in that's what Kev is used to. Those are the type of statements that he makes in SAC and with the King and SAC Republic, and that's what's expected in the culture that he comes from. Culturally, we're a little bit more, a bit trepidatious, a bit more cautious, and I think it's done with a malintent. I don't think he's trying to put pressure on player people, but we will all leap behind that. We were all happy about Northern football and we're going for the top 2 when they were first made. Then when they don't aspire, they get used to it as a stick to beat him. So I think there's whatever pressure is there there should be a pressure to play for our club and play at the highest level that you can. And whatever a chairman says, it's that I've got the expectations that probably need to be a bit, because we get all football fan bases get very disappointed when they don't what they want. I mean, I think we all expected to be top 2 with a squad that and the money that we spent, and it's not transpired. Whether Kevin said anything or not, we're disappointed with how we've performed this season. So I don't think with any sort of I'm going to put these guys under pressure to know that I'm watching. Know that already. They know that Kev's quite hands-on by the sounds of it, even though he is however many thousands of miles away. So I don't think it's but it is what it is, and it's just for me it's a cultural thing.
Yeah, Paul said exactly what I was going to say, which is Manny's not a fool. He knows that they expect whether he's been asked a direct question, do you think you can get us into the playoffs or not? He knows that the expectation is playoffs, and probably what he has sought is comfort that if we don't make the playoffs, but we make progress, he's still in a job next year. I guess that's probably the comfort he sought from Kev or Chris Markham or whoever it is he's agreed to deal with. But bloke's not an idiot. He knows our expectation is playoffs or better. He knows Kev's expectation is that, and probably most of the players, some of these guys that think the Championship footballers, so they're expected to be in the mix as well, I would think. So I think he's accepted it in full working knowledge of how Kev is, and I'm sure he's got, as we always say, who wants to come here? Well, there's only 92 league football jobs. Yeah. There's a lot more out-of-work managers than there are in-work managers, so there's always people. So yeah, I don't think he won't be surprised by it, and I would suggest he's already expecting that pressure.
Yeah,
money that's been spent as well puts that pressure on, doesn't it?
Yeah. This is an interesting question. Do you think we'll pay the price next season with the season ticket prices? Yeah, I think so. And do you think part of the reasoning behind this change of manager as well, guys, was with that in mind? Because if we have a horrific season under Lee Grant and finish 10th again, and they raise, God forbid, the season ticket prices again, I mean, we're going to end up with 7,000-8,000 next season ground. Do you know what I mean? So do you think we're going to end up paying the price for this in the long run? I can see him. I mean, we don't know, do we? But I can see him going up again, can't you?
100%.
100%.
I'm absolutely certain. That's that model. The higher the product, the more you can charge for it. But the problem is that, but the higher our revenue is, the more money Kev can, because the amount of money is not the issue. The man is a billionaire. So it's not about how much money he's got to invest in. It's about how much he can under the I don't know what the financial fair play is, that FSR or whatever it's called at this level. So to do that, he has to squeeze more money out of the people that have got to cover the gates. But, getting ownership of the stadium and getting the revenue from the bars and the restaurants and hospitality and season tickets. So even if we go up, season tickets will go up. If we stay down, season tickets will. That has to be the model so that he can continue to invest in the club. That's the way that it works. And so I don't see any. It's not about paying the price. I think we will have to pay the price, and I think whether or not he should do. That's a different debate, isn't it? The infamous statement that he made, pressure on himself that we cannot raise the season ticket prices because we haven't increased the value to you. Well, he went against that this time, so that's clearly indicates that's what he's going to do going forward. So I think that's. I don't think it matters where we're up. We will pay me more if we choose to go back to the Aku Stadium next season.
I don't think there's any debate. Prices are going to go up. The only debate is that by how much. That's the question, isn't it? And if it's an inflationary rise, it's hard to argue. If it's another hike, 60, 70, 80, 100 pound increase on individual seats, that's when it's really going to become a problem. And I think they're in the background. The fans groups are already girding their loins, ready for that, ready for what might turn into a bit of a battle. So, people who are in the know, I guess, probably already have an idea of what that looks like. But yeah, it's going to go up. I just hope it's relatively sensible and relatively affordable.
Well, it's got to be, hasn't it? You can't just exclude a large portion of the fan base with extortionate prices, because it's like this guy says, the product hasn't been great, has it? It's all right increasing prices if it's a better product, but people aren't going to pay for a product that's rubbish. It's as simple as that, and that applies to any product. So I know we're all invested and it's our club, but there will be a point where fans say, do you know what? No, I can watch this on TV. I'll pick and choose my games instead. So it is a balance. He's going to have to balance it. He's got to be careful. If we go up to Championship, there's more leeway there. Better quality football, better players potentially incoming, so you can justify it more. But in League One, it's a tough sell, even when you're spending a bit more money on players. So anyway, we shall see. Steve Shepherd says 400, 450 plus. I've got an awful feeling that it could exceed 500 for the dearest. I'll be honest with you. And that Riverside, I expect over 500 for that. But we'll see. Anyway, looking ahead, Bradford at home on a Saturday, 12:30. I've still got nightmares from the last game. It was awful. So difficult to call, because I said we've no idea. We've no idea who's going to be playing. We've no idea what formation. But what we do know is Bradford are going to come well organised, well drilled, high intensity, full of energy, heavy in the tackle. They're going to have all their fans behind them making loads of noise. Hopefully we'll do the same. It's going to be a brilliant atmosphere. It's going to be a tough game, isn't it?
It is, and
it should be.
Yeah, they're all as one, aren't they? It's the first time in a long time, really, that they have been. The Bradford fans who were giving it large, they all forget that 12 months ago they wanted Alexander sacking, didn't they? So, but it just shows what a bit of momentum does for a team and for a club. And in less than a year now, they're all joined together. They're still third, I think, whatever they are in the league. I don't know. I'll get criticised now by Bradford fans for not knowing where they are in the league. I still don't know who Bobby Poynton is. I've only ever seen him once, and I didn't think he was.
Would you? Why would you know?
I honestly don't think he was that good on that day. Anyway, but you're right, Nick. I think that's we've got to start well, because we need to keep them Bradford fans quiet. If they start making some noise in that end, and they start playing, and we could be in a world of trouble, couldn't we? We need to have a strong start, get into a few tackles. Remember, it's a local derby, and try and control the game. So, sideways and backwards everywhere we go might not be a bad thing if it means we can control the game a little bit, and not let them build up a head of steam. Because when they play, they like to play front to back. They like to get the wingers on the ball, and we've got to try and stop them at source, because that's what we didn't do at Valley Parade. They have a way of playing. If Manning's as cute as we think he is, he'll know what that is and he'll try and counter it. But yeah, I'm with you now. I just hope we get into it and quiet them noisy wankers down, and give us something to shout about. There'll be a although Bradford fans are loving the fact we hadn't sold out. If we had £3 tickets, we'd sell out as well, lads.
You're proper lining yourself up here.
I don't know. 4-0. Can you imagine? And what it is, it's a vain attempt to get more abuse on YouTube than Twitter does. Than Killer does, sorry. Than Killer does on Twitter. I think it's gonna be a really tough game. They're in great form. As I say, they're all as one as a club at the minute. But they're not, look, let's be honest, they're a league. They're a League One team, and this league is dog shit. So there's every chance, if he gets a set up and we turn up and have the right mindset, there's no reason why we can't beat him.
No, they're a well-organised, well-drilled League One outfit. But that gets you a long way in this league, because as you say, Gaz, it's been dreadful. Everyone's been beating everyone. If you have any kind of momentum or any kind of form, you're right up there. And they're going to be bang up for it. I just hope our players are, because it's all right saying, oh, yeah, it's a doubt. I mean, the attitude they showed to the last one were absolutely dog-turd, wasn't it? There were no passion. There were no fight, no desire. We tried it for 15 minutes, nice, pretty football, and then when it didn't work, we just put our heads down and just, I don't know, just didn't offer anything, did we? We didn't offer anything. So it can't be any worse than that. I think...
Can I just point out that Bradford are 12th in the League One table for the last 6 games? And who are 13th? Huddersfield Town.
Well, they're not good away, are they? The home form has always been good. But away from home, they're not brilliant, are they?
They've had some weird results recently. So they beat, after we'd beat Plymouth 3-1 or whatever we beat them, they scraped 1-0. They beat Reading at home 2-0. They lost to Leyton Orient 2-1. They beat Wigan at home with 9 men 2-1. They beat Port Vale 1-0, who, until we saw Rotherham the other day, we thought were the worst team that had visited town in a long time. They lost to Mansfield 3-0. They've beat Blackpool 2-1, and then they've lost to Cardiff 2-1. So they've had some weird results. They have managed to get some wins recently, because they were on a bit of a run through October and November of draws and defeats and stuff like that. So they have turned that round a little bit. But it's, a derby is just a completely different kettle of fish, in it. And 12:30 kickoff as well, for whatever reason, never seems to be a good thing, does it? So,
yeah. I mean, at one point it would have been an easy 3-4-0 win to us, wouldn't it? But you give them a little bit of success when they've been in League Two for a decade, and suddenly they all get excited. All these little backward fans coming on here, giving it big. And I think we've got. Look, I just want us to turn up and have a go. Do you know what I mean? Like the expectations that low. I just want us to turn up and have some fight about us and make it an actual proper derby game, an entertaining derby game. I mean, almost every derby game this season, we've been shy. We've lost them. So come on. At some point, we're going to have to turn up for one of these games, and let's do it on Saturday. I hope that, look, we've got to play our part as well. It's all right saying, oh, well, everybody wanted Grant out. He's gone. Manning's come in. All right, you might not be behind him 100%. You might be a bit unsure. There were quite a few people that were unsure about it. But at the end of the day, he's here now. So we've all got to get behind him. And we've got to make some noise on Saturday. We can't just sit on his hands, because otherwise, Bradford, it'll be like an home game for them. The atmosphere, And there's a lot of reasons for it, but the atmosphere at home games this season has been awful for the majority of it. So I think the South Stand, they're doing some displays again, so that's going to be really good. We've got to really get behind these lads on Saturday, and then there can be no excuses from them players. If we're right behind them and they don't perform, then it's on the players. It's not the manager, because we've changed the manager. There's nowhere to hide for these players. They've got to step up now. Steve Shepherd says 2-0 win. New manager bounce. Well, it's about time we had a new manager bounce, because everybody has it against us, don't they? So maybe it's about time we had it for once. There's no easy with us, Nick. Well, no, there isn't any easy, mate. I said should be. At one time it would have been. At one time, these small sides, you just push them to one side. But unfortunately, it's a bit different this season. So, but hopefully we'll. And then we've got Luton after that as well. I mean, it doesn't get any easier for him, does it? Those two games are, and even going further than that, Peterborough away. After that, Peterborough have been in good form, haven't they? Although they've dipped slightly, but Peterborough away, that's not an easy game either. That's 3 tough games. If that's Lee Grant, we lose all 3 of them. So what I'm saying is, if we drew 1, lost 1, won 1, let's not all get up in arms saying Manning out. Do you know what I mean? Like that guy said, I'll give him 5 games. Let's not do that. He's here now. Let's get behind him and see what we can do. I think that's it, guys. Let's have some predictions then for Bradford. Are we going positive? Andy looks like he's in pain. We don't want to think about it.
Like I can't. I'm fundamentally scarred that game at Valley Parade, so I can't even countenance making any sort of prediction. But that is the beauty of it. That's the exciting part of it. We've got no idea what's going to happen. No idea how our team is going to react to the new manager, the new voices in their ears. Whether he's going to sort some stuff out or not, it could be an amazing move. It could be a little shocking move. You pray for it to go your way, to silence our friends from down the road who apparently are going to be all over the stadium and in that away end. They're buying tickets in the home end. Well, that could get a bit lively. So if you are from Bradford and you're turning up into stands that isn't the South Stand, just keep your bread, because you'll be offered some thick. I would
half
just
of them are that
quiet.
thick they won't even be able to find ground, Andy. I won't worry about it.
Well, it's been a long while, hasn't it? So they probably can't remember the way there. I think I would take. I think it'll be. I cannot see us having recovered enough from the trauma of Burton Albion away. I can't see us recovered from that sufficiently to be able to pull something out of the box to switch our performance that drastically. We've performed when the pressure has not been on. My word will be on, and rightly so, because it's a big game. It's a local derby. It's got everything about it. It's the things that you want to go and watch the games where it'll be like this, not the meh games. So yeah, sort of looking forward to it, but only if we come out the right side of the result, really. But yeah, I think it'll be a draw.
Mixed bag on the comments here. We've got some draws. Nick Jenkins.
Got a 10-0 Bradford there. A 10-0.
Ben Peel. Yeah, I'll have some of what you're drinking, mate. I tell you what, if we win 10-0, I don't know what I'll do. I don't think a town. If they won't win 10-0 against Brigus, never mind against Bradford. Paul says 2-1 Town. Nice. Someone said Bojan hat-trick. There we go. Joe, just for you guys, Bojan. What would you do if Bojan scores an hat-trick?
If Bojan scored an hat-trick, even I'm going to be a big Bojan fan after that.
Yeah. Dave Brooks says 1-1. We've got to grasp them nettles, haven't we? We've got to grasp them. We've got to shove them down our pants, go out there and stick it to them. Stick it to them bastards. And on that note...
As you said, Nick, as you said before, I'd just like to see them show something, because on Saturday, Andy was really depressed. He was really upset about it, wasn't he, Gaz?
He was.
So we can't have him being that upset again.
Well, no, the worst bit about Saturday when them 3 pricks got into the bloody toilet. outdoor and then shushed us all that were queuing up properly. You're on here. If you're one of the 650, twats. Excuse my language, everybody.
He did let it get. He did let it get to him, though, Nick. That's the good news. He did let it get to him.
I haven't carried it on for 72 hours. Yeah. Queuing's an important thing.
Honestly, you're terrible. I thought before I'd talk long enough you weren't going to ask us for score predictions. I'm just looking at the odds, actually, and I mean, Huddersfield we're evens to win. Bradford are 21-10. I mean, that could be any slimmer over evens, could it? And then draws 2-1. So they've got us, weirdly, we're down as favourites.
The favourites. Carmichael David. We are the favourites according to that. Who on earth put them odds together?
Underdogs.
No, we're not. We're favourites on that.
Fancy as well. I think we're going to probably. I think it's going to be tough. As I said, they're in good form and they're in good spirit, and they'll have a big load of fans behind them. But I'm with you, Trish. I just think if we can just get, I hope Kasumu plays instead of Ledson. Kasumu's got a challenge in him. He's got a tackle in him. McGuane, we've got to do something different, haven't we? So yeah, I'm gonna be optimistic. I'm gonna go for a draw. I'm gonna go for a Desmond. Let's have a 2-2.
2-2. Michael Bottomley says Town 2, Bradford 1, Town 2, Luton 1. If we win both them games, I'll bear my arse on Town all steps, mate. I think if we get one win out of them two,
which Town all?
So I was just clarifying. You don't have to get the scores right, Nicky. Just has to be right that we win both games.
Oh, I didn't say that, mate. No,
right, just checking. Just checking.
We're not gonna do it, mate. I think. Look, I'd take a draw. I'd take a. I think 2-2 is probably right, mate, because we score goals, but we concede them for fun. So I'd say 2-2. But I do think we'll beat Luton at home, although Luton are a bit of a funny side, aren't they? But I think maybe scrape a 1-0 against Luton and a 2-2 against Bradford, which to me wouldn't be too bad. I'd take 4 points off of them.
100%.
Yeah. So we'll see, guys. I think we'll call it there unless you've got anything else to talk about, lads, before we wrap it up. Nearly 800 people listening at this moment in time. So Thank you so much. It makes it. It's
get a life.
Get a
my
life.
advice.
Well, before you get a life, drop a like, please, as well, because it helps the.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. That's a nice little phrase. That get a like and drop a like.
But we do appreciate, because without you guys, it doesn't. We don't have a show, do we? It don't work, And this is the social for a reason. We don't just want to be waffling on, do we? It's kind of led by you guys, so just gives us all a chance to get together and talk shit about Town, doesn't it? So so it is much appreciated listening at this late. So right, guys, we'll leave it there. Ears open for a win in the derby. And we'll see you after that. We're going to do a in-person. I think that's still a plan, isn't it? To do an in-person. We're going to get together.
Killer's getting the vegan vol au vents in for us.
Ready for us, yeah. He might give us some
vegan
ice
cream again.
Yeah. So we're well up for that. So yeah, we'll be doing that live in person after Bradford. Please, God, do not get pumped 4-0 Town, because that is going to be one depressing show.
Not doing it.
Andy, I don't think you'll turn up, will you, mate?
Or if we do get beat, don't push in front of Andy in toilets.
On the way out. See, at that Town, that's not so bad. Just one end and you can go either way. But there was a distinct in and out. And that's what. Sign's there for a reason, lads.
Steve Shep says he's going to be in a box on Saturday. Give us a wave, lad, if you're in. If you're
oh my word!
Me. I don't know. I don't know what's Shep in there.
What's he doing in the box?
The disguise. Give us a wave, lad, if you're on. If you're in the Riverside.
You've changed, Shepherd.
Yeah. You'll know which is this box. You'll see a little vape smoke coming out of it, won't you?
It's just plume of smoke from far end of the ground.
Brilliant. And on that note, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you to Gaz, Tristan, Andy. And yeah, we'll see you all after the Bradford game. Ears open for the win. And as always, up the Town.
The Town!
There's a team that is dear to its followers. The colours are bright blue and white. They're a team of renown, they're the pride of the town, and the game of football is their delight. And all the while upon the field of play, thousands loudly cheer them on the way. Often you can hear them say, who can beat the town today? And then the bells will ring so merrily, and every goal shall be a memory. So town, play up and bring that cup back to Huddersfield. So town, play up and bring the cup back to Huddersfield.